Hello, welcome to number
19.
19 of the Isle of Roux. That is crazy. We're just about at 20.
I'll have to find those later.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Why am I doing that?
Welcome. It's very nice to see you. Thank you for making
Hiya.
the journey.
Waka.
I'm gonna start with the land acknowledgement.
Why did I do that with the numbers?
You're impulsive.
They all fell out. I'm impulsive.
The Creator gifted us with this land that we are blessed to share and care for together. We acknowledge that the land we gather on will consist as the ancestral territory of the Siksika Sitapi, the Siksika, the Kaina, the Piikani, and the Amskapi Piikani. We acknowledge all First Nations and Métis of Treaty 7 lands, the Sutena, the Ithkabi, which includes Bears Pochiniki and Goodstoney. We commit to advancing reconciliation guided by truth, respecting treaty laws, and humbly walking alongside First Nation, Métis, and Inuit. We recognize all who live, work, play, and make art on these lands, and who now call this place home. We are very grateful to be here with you today. Thank you for making the journey to the Isle of Roux. And we are gonna make some art with you. I'm gonna hit share.
Share, baby. I'm gonna hit pin to top. I don't even think that matters anymore.
That's okay. It's nice to make it easy for people to find it.
Is it? Oh, yeah, it is. Pin a post.
All right.
Okay. What are we doing tonight?
We're making art together.
It's a bit of a slow start. Want to do something fun?
I think it's
What do you want to do?
okay. We're making art.
I'll present something?
No, because we only have a couple
That's
videos.
fine. Which water am I drinking?
Not that one.
Okay. This one.
Yeah.
Okay. Did we have a theme tonight?
Making art.
We have a letter?
No. It's just us, man. It's just us and the material.
You're acting a little weird.
I'm tired.
Okay.
So welcome to May for Teachers.
Is that what that is?
I think you can look back through all of the 12 years of Rumble House videos and see
How tired are we getting, May?
I am rancid. I am a rancid, flaming piece of garbage. And but we're doing the best we can.
Why would you say that?
Well, because I feel like that.
Oh
and
my
so it's like,
gosh.
I just want everyone to know that we love you.
Why would you say that about yourself?
Because it's like, I'm trying to make it like smiling, but like inside.
You were so perfect all evening, and then you come on.
Well, no, I'm telling you, it's hard. Like, life is hard for everybody right now. And I like that we're here to make art together.
And everybody thinks
I didn't mean it as a mean thing.
What did you just say? Maybe I heard you wrong.
I mean it as like honest.
What
like,
did you just say?
Everyone's struggling.
That's
I'm not
what
gonna
you said.
repeat it.
Okay.
It's okay to feel bad sometimes, but because you were saying you're acting weird, and I was like,
I just meant like, can I help you with something?
No,
and then
there is
like,
no help.
I'm a rancid piece of garbage, and I was like,
Flaming
what? That was shock. That hurt my soul.
I'm really sorry. I'm sorry if that hurt your soul.
Talking about my wife.
I feel like it's okay to accept when you're not feeling great.
No, we never speak about ourselves that way. That's not okay. Like, I can't win because now I'm
today is Hats On for Mental Health. Taylor is
Yeah.
struggling with the mental health.
Can I tell you something funny?
Yeah.
I wore a hat to school,
Mm-hmm.
and then I took it off because I'm impulsive.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, a number of people asked me where my hat was, and I said, on Hats for Mental Health Day, it's almost like clapping for your own joke, like.
Right. Totally.
Like,
I also wear a hat.
For whose sake were we wearing this hat?
I can't wear hats for longer than 20 minutes, it turns out, because I wore it, and then I put my whole outfit around it.
Well, that's a horse of a different color, isn't it?
And then I took off the hat. immediately. 20 minutes. I timed my longest stay of my house.
Tell me again what you just said. I am in shock of what you said.
Flaming pile of garbage.
That is such a weird thing for you to say.
Ew,
Isn't it?
Not really. If
Okay.
you're not inside my head. But you're trying to help me talk better about.
I was just like, hey, what can I do? Do you need water? Or
Maybe I do need to hydrate.
that one escalated fast. Also, what does that say about me?
No, it means like.
That's why I always think like people need to talk highly about their spouses too, right? Like, my husband's a pooper head. Like, well, what does that say about you?
Mm-hmm. No, my spouse is very
You
wonderful.
think too much, yeah?
Or do you look like?
How do you look to me?
Yeah. No, my spouse is wonderful. And
Stop. Okay, like, blink twice if you need a rescue, Jesse.
I don't even know what you mean.
I love you.
I wasn't going to talk. I was just going to make art.
You have to talk. We talked about this last week.
I really like that. Look,
It's
can
your
I tell
job.
you?
It's your job to talk.
This was just a
Hey, it's not a contest.
piece of watercolor that I've been holding on to. I can't let go because it's
Who did
Moby
that?
me. And it's
Oh,
Moby
you
Dick's
did
eye.
that.
But it just dried like that. I didn't even really do it. The universe did it. And so
Right.
I've just been carrying it around with me because I love it so
Right.
much.
Let me see it.
You can keep it.
I'm going to put it into
It's a
my
gift.
painting.
Oh, it's perfect.
No.
Look at that eye. It's so perfect. Look at the wrinkles around it.
No.
How did that even happen?
Magic.
Honestly, just the best.
Whenever I find myself walking into the streets tipping men's hats off,
Yeah.
I know it's high time to get to see.
I love that.
Do we have one person with it? Did we go live?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Maybe it's like hockey
Hockey.
season.
I don't like ice hockey.
It's a very lovely time of
Maybe
year.
did we lose our viewership because I only paint with blue?
Oh yeah, that's nice though. That's a nice thing. You wouldn't lose viewership over what color.
Who
you
knows?
paint.
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men?
Right. I really love
Chris, seriously though, how come he's-
the flowers that are blooming, and I love
I
you.
see.
And I love
skies of blue,
the May trees and the apple trees are coming.
nimbus clouds of white. My kid's favorite joke at school,
Mm-hmm.
like I've told the same joke to different classes. I think because they like have had to learn things like cloud names and stuff. I'm like, my wife loves cloud names. And then we'll be walking down the street and she'll start talking about them. And I'm like, nobody cares if it's a nimbus cloud. And they've heard the same joke like 20 times. They just laugh so hard. Well, there are two people with us. Who are you people? Are they sending us messages? Also, if you want to join us, you can. And it would be a lot like this. In the comments, if you can see them, comments, there'll be a duck. I hope it's a duck to you. It's a duck to me. And you can click on that and you can join us. So, what do you think about this separation from Canada, Jesse?
I think it's not very loving.
No. I do remember when I was a kid, I don't know if you'd remember the last referendum when Quebec was going to leave. And I was just devastated that the Quebecers would want to leave Canada. Really hurt my feelings.
Well, I think it's like such a strange concept too. Like why?
Like I didn't get what I want, so.
Well, no, but it's like. Yeah.
Or maybe I'll go through the election. If it goes my way, then fine. If it doesn't go my way, then we'll.
It's like a 5-year-old like, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
If I don't get my cookie. And then
Well, and like I didn't hear anything about how bad Donald Trump was from certain people for the longest time. And then he starts with these tariffs, and like this one person I knew gave him like this big cheesehead nickname. I was like, that's fine. Like, I'm okay with that. But like, I remember just a few weeks ago, you liked him.
Yeah.
And how did that switch over so fast from like the best to cheesehead?
I kind of, maybe everyone's just like struggling, and then no one really knows what's going on. Well, some people know what's going on,
I know
but
what's
like,
going on.
but like maybe some people are struggling and they're
That's
like,
my jam. My jam is knowing what's going. Hey man, what's going on? You know,
right.
my whole jam is knowing what's going. You mentioned that Sate was losing the.
Yeah, they're not taking any more kids in the photojournalism.
I feel like I read that a few years ago. Is that an old post?
No, just they got the email today.
I feel like I read that.
Was it a different section? Because this one was
Maybe.
specifically photojournalism,
Maybe.
and maybe a photo major.
Photo.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I remember that happening in the past. What's your favorite book, Jessica?
I'm rereading The Last Unicorn, and it's really giving
Wait,
life.
are you reading that without me?
Some of it, yeah.
We were reading that together.
I know.
That's a thing?
Well, I'm falling behind on all the books you're reading without me, and so I was like, I needed to read something.
Yeah, but you knew that was a thing. Didn't you? Didn't like we have conversations about like, hey,
yes.
I'm not going to wait for you here?
I am going to keep rereading it.
Which one?
With you. The Unicorn.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to, like, we were reading with Felix, but Felix is only over here on the weekends. And then you guys weren't reading
Welcome to my life.
I know.
That's my entire life. Like,
so
oh, like, I'd love to read.
But can I tell you,
yeah,
does this happen to you with books? I was so obsessed. And then because I had to wait, the obsession left me, and I'm trying to recapture the obsession.
That doesn't happen.
It happens to me. So I'm like trying to recapture the obsession. Because I really miss that feeling.
Or you just wait till we catch up?
No, I was going to just keep rereading it with you.
Got you.
Like I
do find that like if it's something that's worth reading with your family,
mm-hmm.
the rereading part isn't usually a problem for
me. Yeah. Like I like it.
What drives me nuts is because we do books like in two ways. We'll do them as audiobooks and then as hard copies.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll get in the car and I'll start reading a book like on the way to work
mm-hmm.
or listening to a book on the way to work. And then you'll get out of the car. I'm like, screw it, Jesse. I'm going to keep reading. I can't wait to find out what happened. And then so I get all the way up to Cochrane and back. And then when I get back to pick you up, I'm like, I always put it back
mm-hmm.
so you could hear the awesome parts.
Mm-hmm.
And then often you'll get out of the car right where I was. And I'll spend like weeks in the same loop.
So stressful. I'm so sorry.
Speaking of which, we should read Moby Dick.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite book?
Moby Dick's my favorite book.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
I don't know what.
There's different ways to talk about favorite books.
Yeah,
too, right?
Because I don't
because Moby Dick is probably the book I spent the most time with,
mm-hmm.
right? That's not true. Moby Dick is the book I spent the longest time reading. The book I probably spent the most time with might be Great Expectations, because I spent a similarly long amount of time reading it, but I also spent a solid 2 months working on a project for Great Expectations.
Mm.
So what happened was I had this teacher, Jerry Paquette, and he was my stylistics teacher. So he taught us how to do things like anaphora, asyndeton, epilepsis, epistrophe. He taught us all these advanced technical writing techniques. And but also he gave us this like brutal assignment. And the assignment went that you had to pick a writer Is there a didgeridoo outside? What?
When you listen
Motorcycle.
to the world like that, it's like way more fun.
Right. Okay, so the assignment was to pick a writer and identify these 30 advanced writing techniques.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of identifying each of their writing techniques in this passage, you were to emulate their writing and try and copy what they did.
Right.
So my one friend, who was way smarter than me, wrote on the bridges of Madison County, and she was able to identify that there weren't any advanced writing techniques in this passage, but she got C+. I got an F at first. Because what happened was I picked Great Expectations, mm-hmm. and the opening passage was about 4 pages, if I remember correctly. It might not be. I think it was about 4 pages. Mm-hmm. And I would say that Dickens used 2 or 3 advanced writing techniques in almost every line.
Right.
So instead of saying like, oh, you can find a syndeton in the line 5, 7, and 19, what I ended up having to do was to write numbers on each of the lines. Mm-hmm. By the way, if there was like better laptops at the time, I could have just like copied and pasted this stuff. But I was handwriting this all as well. And so I numbered all my lines. I retyped in the section I was reading into the book because I couldn't copy and paste it from anywhere. I numbered all the lines, and I basically went through and I took a syndeton separately, and I wrote a syndeton exists in line 5, 7, 13, 22, 27, and 34. And then I had to explain why I thought it was a syndeton versus epilepsis or something. And for epilepsis, it might have been also 5, right? So there's many like repeats of what I had to do. Mm-hmm. And it took me a solid 2 weeks to write the first part of this essay. And I kept getting extensions. I picked Great Expectations because I thought it would be a fantastic challenge, and also because my instructor did his doctorate thesis on Great Expectations. So I expected him to be really familiar with what I was doing. He gave me an extension, he gave me an extension, and then finally he said, look, at 2:00, I'm leaving for the airport. So get this baby in. And at about 10:30 in the afternoon, in the morning, I finished my first draft of the first part of the project. Mm-hmm. Then I realized, pardon my French, shit, I cannot write in Dickens' voice. So Great Expectations started out like my first name being Ferrip and my last name being Pip. My Philip, my infant tongue could make nothing more than Pip, and then thus I called myself Pip and came to be called Pip, or something along those lines. And I wrote a letter of defeat to my instructor, and it said, this being a difficult assignment and myself being a difficult student, I could do none other than to try blah, 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 and thus be called difficult. And I realized, having brainwashed myself into working in these opening lines for 2 weeks straight, that I completely inadvertently mimicked Dickens' tone and style when I was writing the letter that said, I can't possibly do this. And so I wrote an entire passage line by line. You know, the first few lines I really had done independently by mistake. And then I just took the passage, and each line I translated it from talking about like the stone lozenges that are his brothers. I changed it to the department we were in. And I went through the whole thing and handed in my paper. Paquette gave me an F, started to drive to the airport, and then realized what I'd done and had to drive back to the school to change my grade, least not look like a fool. And then he wrote on the essay this most beautiful comment that said, I deserve the A+ for having the sensitivity to see what you've done here. Because I said I was doing one thing, but I actually did another. And that's one of the few things in my 19 boxes. I used to move around a lot and live in a car. And out of the 19 boxes of stuff that I've kept with me, I have no photos of my childhood, but I do have that essay somewhere.
That's really nice.
What do you think of my Moby Dick?
Oh, I love it.
Right.
I love the movement.
Right.
I love Moby Dick. I love them. I love.
Have you read Moby Dick?
No.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Maybe on the way to our road trip this year.
Oh, that's a wonderful idea.
It's really nice that you're so close to me.
What?
Just give me an inch. There you go.
You pulled. Nothing.
I did pull you towards me.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, right? I try and like give you a little hug and then elbow again. I can't believe people would watch us after we keep complaining about like, why don't you just move your own chair over, stupid? Here, where can I put this?
Beside you?
No, I want to put it that way, but also the dripping.
Okay.
No, I think you hold it like this. Like that. Those are the. It's gonna. Okay. Well, you have
What?
watercolor paints out. Oh, I see. You moved your stuff over there. I was like, you have watercolor paints out, but you don't have any paper.
I have lots of paper. Lots.
Paper.
Got lots of paper.
Okay, how am I gonna do this? Let's nobody else joining us tonight? Let's do this.
Where'd it go?
Oh, I'm on screen. Look at me.
That's nice.
I'm a people. Okay. What should be my next painting? That didn't take long.
We were at a very nice birthday party last weekend,
Mm-hmm.
and we got some of your old pieces back.
Didn't we?
And we met some people that have some of your old pieces.
Yeah.
And that was a really nice get
That's
together.
a funny circle. Here's what happened. Thursday, I was invited to do a painting. And I went to another school and I did a painting. And they were going to pay me $200. And I said, no, thank you. And I did not take the $200. And then 2 days later, we went to, do you know what Whittles is? Sorry. Somebody that's read Great Expectations will get back to me like, oh, I know what Whittles is. What you going to do is you are going to go get me some Whittles. Okay, do you know what Whittles are? How would that look now? Well, there'd be like... Was I talking? Oh, yeah. So, sorry for that. I turned down the $200 for the paintings I was doing for the live painting event. And you're like, that's cool. No, we don't need money. And then we went to a party 2 days later, and they were auctioning off some of my previous works, and I bought two back for $215. So really, had I taken the first check, it would have cost me $15 to do 3 paintings and get 2 back. But instead, I did 3 paintings, and it cost me $200 to get 2 back.
You know, that's okay. Art is a beautiful gift.
Yeah. I actually, one of those paintings I really missed. It's happened to me a few times that paintings that were kind of on my feed that I took pictures of that I really liked, where I got in positions where I could get them back. And then once I got them back, I found I didn't really want them as much as I thought I did. Mm-hmm. But getting them back allowed me to stop thinking about how I
you're able to like make the decision.
Yeah. Kind of like that leather jacket I had. I bought this, like, it was a $600 leather jacket when I was living off of maybe $200 a month, $175 a month. And it took me a really long time to achieve this jacket. And right after I bought the $600 jacket, I found a $9 jacket at Valley Village. And I remember thinking, oh, I can't even. So I was like, well, luckily this one doesn't fit. And I was there with somebody and they're like, no, I think this would fit you. And so I tried it on and it fit like it was cut from my body. And actually that jacket was so cool that I had to stop wearing it because like people would meet me when I wasn't wearing that jacket and they didn't like me as much. Like, maybe you should go get that jacket. And so The $9 jacket wasn't something I really truly appreciated until I had the other jacket that I
Right. It's like when
Didn't
you say
wear.
when you have
when
to.
you have to wear. It's not the same. What do you think Great Expectations is about?
Is it anything like the movie?
Ish.
I also haven't read that, so I should probably get reading.
How about
What do I think it's about?
yeah. What did the movie read to you as about? Because it's a little confusing.
Growing up, maybe magic.
Wait, how did magic come out of it?
Well, because he met that guy in the fishing boat, and he kind of kept magic in his life, and that's what kind of allowed him to make art.
Is the word magic in it?
No,
How
but
did magic come part of the story?
that's just what I've always seen in that story.
So do you think magic was what was why the his luck changed, his fortune changed?
Yeah.
Interesting. That is very interesting. Okay, can I tell you what I think it's about?
Mm-hmm.
There's this kid, and he's playing in the marsh, and he shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
And he's being raised by his sister, who doesn't really treat him well,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And then it so happens there's a prison break,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in the marsh, hidden in the marsh, is this prisoner who's like angry that he's locked up. And guess what he says to Pip when he grabs hold of him? Guess what he says?
Mm.
You know, he says, "Do you know what Whittles is?" Do you even know what I mean when I say that?
No, but
You just put up with these weird things that I say?
Yeah.
He's saying, "Do you know what whittles are?"
Yeah.
Whittles are like a tool, like chisels.
Oh, to whittle something.
Do you know what whittles is?
Mm-hmm.
And then so Pip says, "Yeah." And he says, "You're going to get me some whittles."
Oh, you go home, get your whittles.
And get me some food, and don't tell anybody or I'll kill you and your family and your dog, kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing.
Yeah.
And even though he's not treated well by his family, he decides to protect them by
Getting whittles.
By getting the food, risking a beating for stealing food, and by providing this criminal who he thought was a murderer with the tools he needed for an escape, right?
Yeah.
And it so happens that the guards come and find this kid while he's being threatened by the prisoner, and the prisoner goes underwater and hides, and he covers for him. He's like, he doesn't rat him out.
Mm-hmm.
So then the kid grows up, and a few years later, Miss Havisham decides that she's going to have this kid over as a play date for
her granddaughter.
Yeah, who's actually been like conditioned to be this like man killer, because Miss Havisham was left and shamed by her fiance at the wedding.
Mm.
And so she raised this young girl to Estella.
Yeah.
To what's the name of the girl in the movie?
Yeah.
Stella.
Estelle.
Yeah. Right.
Estelle. Yeah.
Yeah. To just destroy men as for a sport. And so then all of a sudden when Pip's like trying to grow up, in the book he gets a chance to be an accountant.
Oh.
In the movie he gets to be an artist. So that happened to me twice, because I really liked the Thomas Crown Affair, but that was more like business and banking.
Yeah.
Okay. And they made a remake which sucked, but they made it about art, which didn't suck.
Right.
And then there's no reason for them to take Great Expectations and make it into a movie, because it's a great book. But in the film, what they did was they made Pip into an artist, which made it very interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this was like before Gwyneth Paltrow being a crazy person. Can I say that? I don't know if I can.
Well, crazy is kind of not the greatest, but you could say like,
Right, on Mental
what
Health
is
Day.
she like? What is it because she like makes goop or whatever? What's goop?
What's Goop?
It's like her company, but I don't know what made you say
And
it.
Also, I'm way off topic, so let's get back.
Okay.
Okay. So what happens is in the film, Pip gets a chance to go off and become an artist, and you get the impression it's Mrs. Havisham is setting him up for success because he's got this secret benefactor, and you don't find out till the end that the benefactor was actually the criminal all this time, and the criminal has been watching him grow up and kind of like a father figure to him, like was setting him up for success. He's always thought of the criminal as this villain, and he's thought of Miss Havisham as his benefactor.
Yeah.
But she wasn't at all his benefactor. She was the one that was trying to screw up his life by having, just for fun, Estella ruin him.
Chicka boom.
Yeah, and then for some reason she has like a change of heart and realizes she's turned Estella into a monster. And meanwhile, Pip doesn't find out until the prisoner dies that's been his benefactor all along. Now, here's another story that you may or may not know. There are two versions of Great Expectations, and most people read the one where Estella shows up in the end, but they published the book twice.
What?
Yeah, and that's like one of those funny things that you're reading like something from history, and you think it's this like salient story, but it turns out there's two versions of the same story, and depending on when you read it, you might have read a completely different ending, and that's weird too, right? Like say that's in my weird lifetime, Han Solo shot first, but in a later date, they re-released the film, and they made it look like Guido shot first. And then so you have these debates, but 100 years from now, there'll be people that didn't know that there was a version where Han shot first, and that like which is the truer version too, right? Like that's the other funny thing is like if the original version that went out was he's just devastated in the end, totally different story than if Estella shows up and they live happily ever after.
Right.
So the version of the book I read, it explained to me when I read the ending that this is actually one of two endings.
That is really cool.
Well, that was super what's the real ending is what I was wondering.
Yeah, do you know which one came first?
I know that he wrote it, and then the publisher had a say, and then it was on the shelves for a certain number of years, and then the public had a say. And
that's a super weird thing.
Right, but also think about Go Set a Watchman. How in my lifetime, this was a book from before my life,
right? And
then it became a book during my life, and then the rest of the book showed up in the middle of my life, and then who knows how people will remember that book because years of art English teachers teaching this book, and then maybe when Go Set a Watchman came out after To Kill a Mockingbird, maybe there's a point where people stop sharing this book with kids. It's too devastating. Did you read Go Set a Watchman?
No, I read To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah, I shaped a lot of who I was from To Kill a Mockingbird because I didn't read back then because I read really slowly. But the phrase when Scout used that bad word, and Atticus Finch said, "Don't use that word because it's common." I decided I wanted to be uncommon.
I really like that.
Us too. This is a modern
That's
version.
really beautiful.
Okay, good. Do you know what Whittles is? Is there anybody out there? I want to watch a movie.
Yeah.
Let's watch this video file. What if you were just a big floating head? How would that be?
Actually, pretty similar to right now.
Really? Wouldn't even make any sense, would it? Well,
it's pretty fun.
Luckily, we're absurdist.
Absurd. Hi, didgeridoo.
We were watching one of our favorite videos on the Newport Jazz Festival, and we heard this voice that we had heard thousands of times throughout our lives, always introducing a beautiful act, always introducing a meaningful exchange. And Rich stopped the video and looked up who the voice was, who was the person introducing the next act in the Newport Jazz Festival, and it was Willis Conover. And that was the beginning of a very long rabbit hole. We started looking up Willis Conover, all of the projects he did, and Voice of America came up. And from there, we bought Cold War Radio, which is a book that outlined all of Voice of America's history, the idea of sharing really good music and authentic exchanges between humans across the world. People didn't know Willis Conover in the States. People in Russia, across the world behind the Iron Curtain, knew Willis Conover because that was their only outlet as people across the ocean in Europe, behind the Iron Curtain. He was really, really well known for sharing American culture, jazz culture, big thinkers, authentic like philosophers in the States. They're trying to show all sides of what culture was like here, and jazz was a really big part of that. So we started reading more about the VOA and VO Free America, and the idea of sharing literature and the idea of sharing jazz was very pivotal. Just as we were finishing the book, the Trump administration cut funding to the VOA, and at that same time, the Conservative Party was saying that they were going to cut funding to our CBC, and we had just been introduced to this huge world of sharing information and passion and the weird stuff and the good stuff and the authentic stuff, and then in this world, these things started to disappear. And the other day, Rich sent a text to me that said that the Trump administration had now cut funding to PBS and NPR, and like going after Sesame Street is something that really like dug in deep to my heart. In these days, things like this, things like what we're doing and things like what you're doing, even if it's just in your home, is so important to be able to keep doing the weird art and sharing the weird stories and the authentic connections, even without funding. It's important.
Do the weird art and share it. Right?
Weird.
What?
Save one day's for weirdos. I said weird. Like, do the weird art.
Yeah.
Do the freaky frack.
Yeah.
Okay. What else is shaking? I can tell you this. About 25 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
I was at the Science Center, and they had a exhibition for Sesame Street,
Oh.
and they had a false studio of the downtown outside the stoop.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it was just like you could go sit on the stoop, and it was kind of like an empty room that people weren't paying attention to because they have all the weird toys and stuff to play on.
Right.
But I was like so blown away to go and sit on the Sesame Street stoop.
Oh.
And Travis, when we took our school to Disneyland, kept teasing me that there's a theme park that is Sesame Street based theme park in we went to Santa Monica, and it might be that it was in Santa Monica, but we didn't go there. It's one of the places we didn't go. But it's a theme park for autistic kids.
Oh.
Yeah, like based in autism, on like in the
Yeah.
framework around autism, where like probably there's a lot of sensory things and things kind of going on there. And he kept teasing me like, "Hey, that'd be great for you," but I was like, "Dude, like you have no idea for so many
It would be
reasons
so great for me.
why that would be so great for me."
Mhm.
And he wasn't being mean or unkind or anyway. It was just like I don't think he understood like the extent of like how great that would have been for me.
Totally. Kelly's here.
Hi, Kelly.
Totally.
Totally.
I forgot.
Well, that's okay. It's nice to
Well, I
see.
didn't forget. I was enthralled and looking at manatees for my mom.
That's okay.
And then also, I haven't cleaned up in here. It's like a bomb went off in the basement.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
If you just showed up, I'd be like so happy that you were here.
Yeah.
But then,
Okay.
then you go, I forgot. I'm like, you don't really love me.
Well, no, I didn't forget. I was just enthralled. I was doing something on the computer upstairs.
I see. Well, either way, we don't take attendance. We're
Yeah.
glad you're here. And how's the rest of your day?
Not bad.
Yeah.
I had to do kitty litter. I was up really early. Had to take Steve to the LRT. Went to work out.
When you say you had to do kitty litter, do you mean like you had to change the tray?
No, I have to scoop and shift.
I don't
So
know.
it's not a tray. You actually have like a little scooper, and you shift it, and then you put it in the toilet, or in the not the toilet, the garbage.
Yeah, don't put it in the toilet.
I don't know. So there's 4 of them. 4 kitty litters.
Oh, no.
You did that to yourself.
Well, right now Lily's peeing outside the box, so we don't know why. I think she's unhappy.
Oh.
So they show that when they're unhappy, they pee outside the box. So we've moved the box upstairs to see if she wants privacy.
I see.
They're very.
Jess and I are both teachers, and sometimes when the kids are unhappy, they do it outside the box too.
But yeah, so they were. I just had to move the boxes. They're heavy. They have clay in them. So
Kelly.
What?
Do you know how soap works?
what?
Do you know how soap works?
Yeah.
How?
You can't do that with cats.
No, I don't mean that. It's like a science question. Do you know how soap works?
It lathers up and
Yeah.
it cleans.
How though? How does it clean?
It's the texture that actually makes it clean.
It is, but what do you mean by that?
I don't know the complexity of soap, how it's
Okay.
put together.
Well, like a lot of people think like soap kills bacteria, but that's why we have like antibacterial soap. But what soap actually does is it makes the germs slide off. It's just that simple that the soap is slippery, and when the germs get slippery, they slide off.
Oh,
So you kind of knew that. You gave me the right answer. But it's just one of those things that people kind of know without really thinking about.
yeah, well, there's different soaps too that do different things.
Yeah. And so the reason I brought this up was I was talking to my kids about like trying to get them to remember that what soap does is it gets the germs to slide off. And I told them this story about how I was walking down the street with some friends of mine. I tell this story sometimes as though it happened to me and sometimes it didn't happen to me. In this case, I'm going to say it didn't happen to me. But there was a bunch of like university kids that were sitting on a wall watching people cross the street, and somebody had put human fecal matter on a $5 bill, and then the $5 bill was stuck to the ground in the crosswalk, and my friend wanted to pick up the $5 bill in the crosswalk, and there was poop on it, and he got poop on his hands. And my friend was a boxer, and I remember we talked about whether we should go and try and fight 25 guys, because there's like, it was a whole frat house that had set him up to get poop on his fingers. And they thought, like, actually it was kind of funny because I think they were expecting somebody smaller than my friend who was a boxer to pick up the poopy $5 bill. So they were all sort of sitting there smirking, and I had a really bad idea about him picking up this money. I had a bad feeling. Like, I got a bad feeling about this. And he picked it up, and I thought he was going to go and try and kill 25. And the other thing is, none of them like cracked a smile or looked up when he had got the poop on his fingers. I think they thought it'd be really cute if like somebody less dangerous fell for their joke. But I told my class the story, and then I was using it as a point to illustrate that you use soap to make the poop go away because it just slides off your hands.
All I can say is ew.
Yeah. For dramatic effect, I might have told that story to my kids as though that I picked up the $5 bill. But truth is, I didn't.
Yeah, I wear rubber gloves when I'm actually cleaning the cat litter.
Yeah. What would you do? What would you do if you saw $5 on the ground on a crosswalk?
Wondering why it's there, and probably not touching it.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. Is that's not my $5.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll pick up money if I think I see where it came from.
If you see someone and like fell off of them.
Or sometimes, like when I want to give people money, I'll throw it on the ground and be like, "Hey, you dropped that."
That is the sweetest move. When I saw you do that the first time, I thought it was really sweet.
Yeah.
Like really fast. Like,
I think you dropped that. Sometimes they argue with you. They're like, "That's not mine." I'm like, "Well, it's not mine. You better take it." So the kids at my old school played this prank on the custodian where they glued a toonie to the ground, and he tried to pick it up when nobody's looking. Like, he saw it and he wanted the toonie for himself. Oh, I don't know what he was thinking. He might not have wanted the toonie for himself, but I think part of what made him like go into like rage was that probably you could kind of see in the video, he saw the toonie on the ground. He was like cleaning up. Kids were like hiding behind the wall, videotaping him. And so he looked down and he saw the toonie, and he kind of glanced over his shoulder to see if anybody was looking. Maybe he glanced over his shoulder, come to think of it, to see if there was anybody that might have dropped it.
mm-hmm.
And then he bent down to pick it up, and it didn't move. And so then he bent down to pick it up again, and it didn't move. And then like the third time he tried to move it, like he's like scraping at it, he heard them giggling. And like he 100% rushed the camera like he was going to knock them out. And they had the whole thing on video. And actually they got us a new custodian after that. Because it was pretty incriminating to the extent that he sort of rushed towards them on the video.
I shared the link, or shared the feed, sorry.
Kelly.
Have you heard from Theo tonight?
No,
Interesting.
because he normally does. He'll see it on the screen, right?
What?
Click on the link.
Probably. Who's your favorite Muppet from Sesame Street?
Trying to think. Grover.
Grover.
Aww. Is there a monster at the end of this book?
Did we talk about Muppets before? You were going to cut one up and I got mad at you.
Yeah, he's still here. It's Grover still. He's still around.
Thank you for that.
I like Grover and I like Cookie Monster.
Yeah. I kind of like Cookie Monster was kind of the same vein as a couple other monsters where they had like holes in their puppets where you could feed things into them, and the stuff would keep dropping into this pit. So I think Cookie Monster's like superpower was the puppet actually had like a hole in it where you could make the food disappear into his gullet, which was actually just the puppeteer's sleeve or what have you.
I also like the yippies, the ones that go yip 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 yip.
Yep.
Want to hear a funny story?
Yeah.
So across the street from the Muppets studios was a movie theater that showed primarily Swedish and Italian films of a certain provocative nature. And it was kind of understood that the Muppeteers did not go into this theater because it was a dirty movie house. And one day, Frank Oz got the urge to just go and check out this theater. And there was an Italian pornographic film on. And the theme song was like, manam manam doo 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 doo, manam manam doo 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 doo. And so Jim Henson had lifted that manam manam from a movie that he didn't think anybody would have ever admitted to seeing. Felix would say, "Is that silly?"
The other one was I liked Oscar the Grouch.
Do you like Big Bird?
Yep.
Did you know that Oscar and Big Bird was the same puppeteer?
Yep.
Girl Spinny.
I couldn't stand Elmo though.
I think Elmo was like a different generation.
Yeah.
Elmo sort of came after like things like Muppet Babies and that kind of cutesiness, where the Sesame Street and the Muppets was really designed to not talk down to kids.
Mm-hmm.
And Elmo really exemplified talking down to kids, baby talk, boop boop beep beep.
The other one I liked was trying to think about it. Oh, Dracula, the Counting.
The Count.
Yeah.
One cheeseburger.
Well, you reminded me actually of the Frankenstein.
What?
There was a show called The Hilarious House of Frankenstein.
Oh my gosh, I love that show.
That was so cool, that show.
I love that show.
The Wolfman was awesome.
I looked up the first season on YouTube, and just like one day, I think I was at the gallery. Maybe you were out for a bike ride. It is just the best.
Yeah. A lot of what we do here is based off of that.
Mm-hmm. The segments and
yeah, it's probably we're a little more House of Frightenstein than we are even of
Muppets.
Sesame Street.
Yeah.
So it was Hilarious House of Frankenstein. I liked the Friendly Giant with the giraffe.
Yeah.
And, he was the big
Look up.
giraffe.
Look way up. Do you like the Isle of Roux?
Yes.
Do you like the Lost Hero X?
Yep.
Want to see what's happening with Lost Hero X?
Yep.
Okay, let's look.
Dad? Dad?
What?
I think she's making noise again.
Wake me up if she starts yodeling.
Dad? She's humming again.
It's okay, son. It'll be okay.
That planet would be a great place to go on a walk, but not really a great place to live. There's a fastidious Republic war base there. Maybe we'll go stretch our legs.
I think we're good.
Dad, you know, it is nice walking around here.
Yeah, I kind of miss walking around too.
Maybe we should go back to Earth. It's pretty nice there.
I think that's a decision we need to make as a family. We'll go when Jesse's ready to go.
It's just, this place is a fastidious Republic war base. So yeah. Wormhole radiation is a really bad thing, especially when it's used for Jesse, are you ever going to talk to us again?
Pretty nice, Felix. You found us a good spot.
Yeah. I think some bad things happen here. Nighttime.
Like what?
What the hell is the Isle of Roux?
That is so meta. Hey,
Made sense in my head when I wrote it.
layers.
This is funny. You know that kind of thing where like we're sort of protective of like spaces and sometimes myself included, men can be a little like not thoughtful. And then maybe in popular culture, we kind of like notice that sometimes men aren't very thoughtful.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at work, and one of my friends who was kind enough to watch the feed was kind of criticizing us for the last episode where Felix and I were too wrapped up in ourselves to notice that you weren't speaking.
Hmm.
And I was like, you know, it's fiction, right? And we talked about that. I was like, you know, it's like I kind of recognize that we kind of look like jerks in this because we're just kind of carrying on with our life and you've stopped speaking. And like that's kind of what the story is about, is like being kind of wrapped up in yourself and missing the important
It's
things.
fiction.
Yeah. And then so this one's the same story where it's like I also caught heat about how Felix solves all the problems, and it's like we're never even paying attention. Like that's like I wrote the story. It's not real.
Isn't that funny? Like that is interesting.
Well,
how-
it's sweet that people have confused our real life personas with the narratives happening in that show. And I can see, you know, like myself as a reader, I will often take cues from. There was a Paul Theroux story, short story that he published,
Mhm.
where Paul Theroux is a character in the story,
Right.
and he said and he did things that I did not approve of. But I also wondered if like that's just a story. But he also used his own name in the story, so like,
Right.
you know, talk about meta. If you're going to maintain that layer of this is fiction, so you can't judge me, and you use your own name, then there might be an indication that maybe possibly it is you because you used your own name. On the other hand, if we're flying around in space and I'm writing the scripts, clearly I'm aware of the fact that we're not paying attention to your needs when you stop talking, and it takes us, half an episode to realize that you've stopped speaking. But yeah, my friend kind of gave me a hard time about not being more sensitive and noticing that you were in pain. I was like, it's like I wrote
That's
that.
the point. Yeah.
Yeah, the point is that sometimes we get wrapped up in ourselves. And I thought it was pretty cute and also kind of scary. Because even what we're doing right now
really
is part theater, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And when we ran Rumble House, there were so many like moments where it was like things would be happening, and then we would allow the theater of what we were doing to compel the story forward.
Mm-hmm.
And to some extent, I don't want to absolve bad behavior, but we're also playing roles of ourselves, right? So
Yeah, it is interesting.
There was one person that used to join us on the feed who I kind of thought picked on me. And I thought, well, like, this is really great to have this person on the feed who picks on me, because it meant that there's lots of drama, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually kind of disappointed when she stopped joining us, because I liked having that check on my ego to be sort of like knowing that there's constant pot shots coming my way. It wasn't you, Kelly. Kelly, you don't pick on me. That wasn't coded.
No.
It wasn't Theo. Theo doesn't pick on me. But there were actually kind of a number of people at Rumble that picked on me.
Mm-hmm. And because we do have this kind of like the show must go on kind of thing, you would have to like.
We talked about this last week because we put a boost on our show,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that means people we don't know are going to see it. And I kind of felt like an ass after last week's show.
I did too.
Oh, right. But I mean, I was the problem.
No.
And then I kind of had this thought like, well, maybe we just don't boost it this week. And then I thought, but what am I saying? If I only boost the shows where like I'm glowing and I feel like I did a wonderful job, that's incredibly vain. But to put my money into boosting the show when I feel foolish, really says a lot about why we do this. Like it really adds a layer of like, one of the things I noticed is consistently all the wrestlers in those wrestling TV shows.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
The bad guys were always the nicest guys, right? Like it always took
you were saying
the
that
nicest guy to play the role of the bad guy so that the heroes could shine.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, most of the heroes were actual jerks. So that part's funny too.
Oh, you're going. Sorry, I just remembered too. I boiled water for tea and I forgot.
Oh, my blood is boiling now. How hot do you want it? You want it now?
It boiled a long time ago. It's probably cold now.
Boil it
I
again.
just went to the garage to get the pictures that I got from the expo, and the guy who drew the teddy bear and the other thing that I had picked out.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So this is one of his original art pieces.
Oh wow. That's beautiful, Kelly.
So that's the guy who did the Captain Canuck.
Nice.
And then this is the one gave me a sticker, which is.
Can you put the first one on, Kelly? Rich just made your picture bigger so we could see it. Oh, that's really cool.
It's little owls and stuff.
Yeah.
And then he also gave me this little grumpy sticker. The Care Bear with a grumpy coffee.
Cute.
And then this is the one he did for me.
Aww.
Yeah. I thought that was super cute.
That is really cute.
And then this is the other artist.
Oh, wow. I love that.
So she's a local artist here in Calgary.
Nice.
I really like the the look of it. It just looks
Yeah.
pretty,
I
right?
love that.
So I'll send you in Messenger. I'll send you a link to her. She's really cool.
Yeah, I
She
love
dresses very unique. Is all I can say.
cool.
But yeah, she's really talented. So
Very cool, Kelly.
yeah. Oh, that's her name there. It's on the card. Here's her name. I don't know if you can see it. So she creates everything.
Nice.
So they're all creatures and stuff. So I thought I really liked it. So I asked her to sign it, so she signed it for me.
Very beautiful. So you had a nice time?
Oh yeah, yeah. I like. I guess my friend Michaela, she sold my. I had a Stitch Bear, and they sold it to a autistic boy who was 27. He was in a wheelchair,
Oh, that's nice.
so he really liked that. And then I sold. I had a lady last year come and her little girl came and bought a bear from me, and they bought the Cub Scout one this year.
Oh, that's nice.
And I was explaining to the little girl, I said, you have to take care of him.
Yeah.
Make sure he's warm.
Actually, Kelly, I got some questions for you, and I'm going to contact you outside of this feed, or we could talk about it now.
Sure.
Mark Vasquez was calling me, and he's back in town for a little while, and he was wondering about
June and July. Yeah.
about fairs and festivals and markets. And I had to admit that I've never done any, but I knew that you did, and so I said I would ask him some questions about like how much does a person make, and how much does it cost, and what are the best ones, and what good experiences have you had, and what to expect. Are you interested in sharing that information?
Sure.
Do you want to share later or now?
I can share one thing right now, and then I can talk to you after on the other ones. The first one, I think, so I'm doing Lilac Festival.
Yeah.
It is, I think it's already full,
Mm-hmm.
but the thing is, I'm actually sharing with another artist because it was $400 for one day.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably could have room for him if he wants.
Well, possibly, but what? How much did you make in a festival, in a market or something?
Last year, me and Dusty did it, and we didn't do very well because we were on 17th Ave, and it wasn't as busy as I thought. So I moved myself to 4th Street. So now I saw the map on by the stage and then by the kids tent, I think.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like between 17th and 18th or something. I don't know. I only looked at the map once, but apparently it does bring in a lot of people. It is so packed. Apparently you can't walk.
Right.
So and it's
can you expect to make like twice as much as it cost you, or?
Well, last year we didn't make the table, but this year I'm hoping because we're gonna have. I'm splitting it with another vendor, and I said, well, I have room for another vendor as well. So if someone I'm splitting it from their artist, so I said, I'll get the table, you guys pitch in, and we'll split it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's better to do that anyways because a lot of people can't afford I barely could afford the 400.
Mm-hmm.
But when I did Calgary Expo, I did pretty well.
Nice, good.
And I have a lot of repeat customers come back, and I have a lot of people that don't buy anything, but they love the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, I love your stuff. I just can't afford it right now. And I'm just like, no worries. Here's my card. Contact me when you want to.
Yeah.
And they said, what's going on in Calgary? And I said, well, I told them I'm on the Isle of Roux on Wednesday. And so I said, if you want to tune in, just look up Rumble House and we have a live on Wednesday.
Gotcha.
So I have kind of promoted Isle of Roux. But I can't make people sign in, right, and do that. They have to want to.
We don't even care if people sign in anymore, Kelly.
They watch all week. It's kind of a different.
Yeah, a lot of people, they actually would look at the feed and they go, "Oh, that's pretty cool."
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's a good thing, right? So
Well, it doesn't matter. It used to matter when we needed to make rent, but now it's just we're just doing
now
it.
it's just like for fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You could put me off the big screen now. You can switch
Oh,
me
okay. I
to the
forgot
drawing
Sorry.
because I can't see. I was watching the drawing. But yeah, I'll contact you after. And there's a couple of places that I'm doing that I'd rather like share with a vendor.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Well, it looks to me like a lot of people make money at the under 100 show. That seems like a good money maker.
yeah,
And
that is. But the thing is, it's juried. I've been trying to get in again, and I've kind of like, if they don't want my stuff, that's fine.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be upset anymore. I'm just gonna say, well, it's not gonna happen this year. I'll just continue doing what I'm doing.
Totally.
Right.
I'm in Motive. I'm in Motive Cell Center Mall, and they like my stuff, even though it's not all theirs. It's mostly resin art.
Oh, nice.
So I usually sell out of the trinket dishes, but I'm evolving all the time, so I don't like to do the same thing over and over and over again. I like to kind of go, oh, I like the fish, but then I'm going to do octopuses. Then the new one, I'm going to do dolphins. So I have a dolphin, and I've made a resin. What is it? A resin seashell out of, like, it's a mold, but I've made the shell out of resin. So I like to kind of push the boundary a bit. So kind of challenge myself to do more. It's the same thing with paintings. I did the Calgary Cat Show. I sold 2 paintings, which is very rare for me.
That's
There
nice.
was people that saw me last year, couldn't afford the paintings. They came this year. They had gotten married, and they said, we need something for our wall, and they love my stuff, so they bought the abstract arts.
right.
So that's a good thing, right? But I'm also not into making major amount of money for stuff.
Yeah.
I know some artists, like it used. Some people are saying, "Oh, we're charging $2,900 for this big piece," and I'm like, "Well, I don't feel that I want to charge that. I do it because I want to do it. If I have to struggle to make something for money, I won't do it."
Yeah.
I'm a little bit different. I think that way. I just don't. I want to do it so it makes me happy, not like if they like my stuff, then that's fine. But I also want it to be affordable for everybody else.
Yeah. Well, and once you sell something for 2,900, you have to stay at that price.
Yeah, I won't do that. I think
2,900 one day and then sell it to somebody else for 50, because that's not fair to the people that bought it for your big price.
the most expensive, I haven't done it yet. I told the lady I've had some issues because I'm trying to make room here. But it's $200, but it's a 30 by 40. So it's quite a big canvas.
Yeah.
But most of the things, I only raised the price actually last year to $200. It used to be $100.
Mm-hmm.
But I only buy the canvases when they're on sale. Same thing. But I found out today that I had bought stuff before Rumble had stopped.
Mhm.
And I just found the bags, and there was like tons and tons and tons of paint in there.
Of what?
Paint.
Tons and tons and tons of paint.
Gotcha.
So but I got inks now too, and I have so much. Like if I change the camera, you can see I had to build. I had to get a workbench. I have too many molds. Here, I'll change the camera so you can see the other camera. It's this one. Oops. It's this one. There. So that table right there is a 3-level
Oh, nice.
table. And that's all the resin. And then there's also, I turn the camera sideways. This big thing, oops, right there, is all full of molds.
Oh, wow. That's a lot, eh?
Yeah. And there's molds down there. And there's molds over there. And molds over there. I even have a sword. I'm making a sword out of resin.
Nice.
So I have a lot of stuff, and I'm going through it right now. I've had to redesign everything. I've actually put stuff together. Putting a workbench together by yourself, I had to figure that out because I had to use my knees. I had to use my knees to put the like Tupperware up and then get the little things up and screw them together. And I did a lot of kind of figuring out how to build it technically.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
But it's fun. Like, I like doing that sort of stuff. I like building it. I get frustrated though. But like I actually watch a lot of builders, and I like watching when they build sets and like building other things. And I don't know. But yeah, I can talk to you after feed, Rich, on the other. If Mark wants to join me at the Lilac Festival, it's coming. It's June the 1st. So
It's Mark's wife, and they're in Mexico right now.
okay.
But
So
yeah, they're coming in June, July, and she's working on weaving, and she actually just went live with her Instagram and stuff too. So
I'll have to follow. I think I follow him. I'm not sure. I have to go and look.
nice.
But yeah, and like Dusty just finished some weaving for a person that was from the Calgary Cat Show.
Nice.
So they were intricate, like I'll send you a picture. They were really cool, actually. So
Very
she has to send it to me, and then I have to give it to the lady. Has to pay me for it. So because Dusty's wicked drum heller, so I kind of like and I've told other people. I said like I meet other artists, and I said, well, I'd like to help you out. Would you like to do a market with me? And so that's how I kind of been helping other artists.
That's very nice.
Yeah, and it helps get their art out there.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is
That's
fun.
very nice, Kelly. And then you have company too.
Yeah, especially like I don't like leaving. I don't like doing outside markets too much. The reason why so many people stuff can get stolen. You can't leave your table. I like inside better because everybody watches out for each other.
That's nice.
well, and the weather's tough too sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, last year Lilac Festival it rained, but I had brought tent walls for Dusty's tent, and we just put the tent walls up, and we were protected.
That's awesome.
Other people forgot.
Yeah.
The only other problem I find with outside is if it's windy and you have art pieces,
Oh yeah.
they blow over, or if they're on the table, all the papers go flying.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the other reason I don't really. I'm doing Lilac, I'm doing Deer Run, I'm supposed to do Market Spot, but I don't feel comfortable doing the night market. I also have family things that I have to do on those days.
Mhm.
So now I'm trying to see, I'm waiting for them to get back to me, which I don't think they will.
That's okay. There's lots to choose from, it sounds like, so that's good.
Yeah, there's like a lot of markets, but you have to pick and choose what you want to do. Some are really good and some are not really good. And
Mhm.
I've learned the hard way. I've done a couple where I just make nothing.
They used to do a market at the junior high school that I taught at, and it was funny because it was totally separate from what I was doing. And every now and then, somebody from the market would ask me for something, like, "Do you have some easels we can borrow?" Or I'd get an email from somebody. I was like, they didn't really even talk to me that there was going to be an art market in my school on the weekend. And I'd sort of find out about it from the parents afterwards. Like one of the parents was like, "Hey, we're doing this art market. Can we borrow your masking tape or something?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like,
Yeah, that's not okay.
nobody
Like,
even told me they were doing it. Well, in the gym. No, it's okay. It's fine.
well, like they rent the space though, and they pay for the space. But if they're using your stuff, it's like I know it's fine for you.
Yeah, no, I don't
like,
mean that. I just mean like I was more like shocked that they had markets and I didn't know.
Mhm.
They're like friends. Like
Yeah.
your friends. Like, can you help me out here?
Mhm.
When I
Or
was when I was at the Calgary Expo, there was an artist behind me. They had taped they had a display, and it was like all their posters on this like. It kind of looked like a backdrop for a photo thing,
Yeah.
but they use it for their posters. So they had used just regular tape and a big gust. So we had gusts of wind coming in because they had the back doors open, and it almost blew it over into someone else's display. And I said, I have Gorilla Tape. Do you want to use that? And so I lent it to them, and they were happy. The guy beside me, the guy who had the Captain Canuck, I helped him with like the foam pad, water, and I said, I have lots. You can have some. And I said, you don't have to go to the bathroom for because he was using watercolors, eh?
Yeah.
And I said, don't go to the bathroom. Here's a bottle of water. Use that. So I try to help others out the best I can. Like I can't.
We were at the Blues Fest 2 years ago. This guy came by and asked if I had any strings so he could hang this poster up. And then the next year he came back and kind of, it was almost like he was pretending to be a different guy. Acted like he just met me for the first time and asked if I had any string. And I was like, no, I don't. And I knew he's like, I know you have string because I borrowed it last year. I'm like, I'm not giving you more string, thanks. And it was more the way that he sort of like approached asking that left me wanting to not give it to him. Do you remember that guy?
Like I'll give some stuff to people, and then some people like the first market of the year, they had crocheted little items like crocheted spiders and bees and all sorts and it was their first market, and there was 3 people on one table. And I was telling the crochet girl, I said, I have some extra cubes. I'll build them for you if you like, and you can use them. Because I suggested it to them. I said, you would have more room on your table if you did this, because there's 3 of you. And so I built it gave it to them, and at the end, they gave me something afterwards, and I didn't expect it. So I have like a little spider somewhere.
That's
Spider. But I don't expect stuff from others. I just like to help. Right? I don't expect like anything.
I do. I want a pound of flesh.
He's just kidding. He always gives
Actually, Kelly, you owe me a pound of flesh.
no flesh.
Well, I can say that you guys actually taught me to be humble and be more hopeful, I guess. Because I never, when I first came, that was years ago, and then I didn't come, and then I came back. I found that it made me more of a humble and more of a, I don't know, helpful person.
Okay.
That's
Jess,
really sweet.
Can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
He likes the titanium one. Is that okay? It's a little expensive.
Does he know which one?
That one.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
I think that's a good gift for a kid that's worked so much for us.
That's very sweet.
Okay.
Oh, you have a kid that's working for you?
His name's Felix Teru.
Oh, yeah.
He's been working for us for 12 years since he was a Zygo. Yeah. And he, Oliver sometimes, because he was a teenager, would take his cut. Like if sometimes he'd donate his piece, and sometimes Oliver would buy pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So Oliver was more treating Rumble House like a business, where Felix has not taken his cut. So he's 12, and he thinks it's normal to spend Wednesdays at the gallery making artwork, selling it, and then that money goes into the gallery. He never asks for anything. So I have a space pen from NASA, and I had a purple one, which I loved, and then little guy at my school kept asking me for my space pen, and I was like, no, that's for me. And he was having a bit of a meltdown one day, and on the same day he was having a meltdown, I misplaced my pen, and I just asked him, I was like, hey man, only because he knew how important my space pen was. So I asked him if he'd seen it anywhere, because it's like, who else would know what I was talking about? And he flipped out thinking I was accusing him of taking his. I never would have accused him of taking my space pen. But then he kind of got himself thrown out of school. And so I meet up with him from time to time. And as a grad gift, I told him I was going to give him one of my space pens. And then I had an opportunity to meet up with him, and I gave him Felix's space pen, which is like typical of me. And then so Felix came by, and I wanted him to work on something that he had to write. He's like, "Where's my space pen?" I was like, I might have given it away. So then I gave him a different space pen, my space pen, and then I borrowed it back a few times. And then so I just told Felix to pick a space pen off the internet, and we'd get him his own space pen. He happened to pick the titanium, which is like a ridiculous amount of money. How much is your pen worth? You got a ballpoint pen worth some money, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Come on, tell.
I have my dad's old cross pen.
Mm.
The ones that say cross, they're the gold ones. It apparently is gold. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
We got to see a Van Gogh pen that's worth more than our bicycles.
It is not.
Yeah, it is.
Our bicycles are worth way more.
Right. We have expensive bicycles, but that's not the point. We spend our money on weird things like carpets and pens.
Things
that's a cool thing.
Lamps,
I
hand-me-down
spend my money on molds.
lamps.
Molds, and I only started buying art recently. Don't really buy that much.
Yeah. We don't really buy art so much as we would buy it through the gallery to be supportive. But we spend our money on things like records and carpets. After 10 years together, we bought a kitchen table for this show and a green couch for this show. I think we'll feature the green couch more in the summertime.
Because right now I'm trying to find a vanity for my mom,
Yeah.
which is very expensive, and then a mirror, which is I've gone to 12 different places now, Rona and Home Depot, and I'm picky. It has to be a certain dimensions. I have to have someone come and measure it because I have no idea.
You know what I really want is blinds.
A what?
Blinds. Behind me are these curtains, and we actually have blinds. But we rigged up cables so we can hang curtains in our house, and it's an apartment, so we're not allowed to do that. But I think when we leave, they'll be pretty happy about the curtains because these curtains are hanging on cables, and I had to like mount these things to hang the cables. And one time, one of the things that I mounted popped off the wall, and just cable flung around the room. But behind here, these curtains are our blinds. And there's like supposed to be like about 20 blinds, and there's about 6 left. So it's kind of like when it's time to pull those last 6 teeth and get some dentures is what our blinds look like.
So you guys are going to stay there. You're not going to move. No?
We have no promises because the rent goes up, and there's a certain breaking point where we have to move out of here. But I think like part of like I used to really promote this building because I was really so proud of where we lived, and I loved it, and it was reasonably priced. And there's a lot of families here that really do well because the building doesn't make you struggle. And then there's been some problems with infestations and all kinds of things. And but I've been really supportive of this building. And then our rent started going way up. And can I finish?
Yeah.
While you wreck my story.
Mm-hmm. Keep going. Sorry.
Do the noise again. That's not the noise. Do the noise.
I don't know how to. Yeah,
the rent went way up, and Jess was the first one to say we can't pay that. We're moving out. But what we found out is our rent has gone way up, but not compared to like everybody else's rent. So actually, it turns out our rent is quite reasonable here, right? And
you're right, relatively speaking.
Right. So you were the one that was mad when the rent went up, and I was like, well, let's look and see. And we'd almost double our rent if we moved somewhere else. And in fact, if somebody moved into this building. Into a suite like ours, they'd paying almost twice as much as us because our rent is going up, but it's going up
like reasonably
slower than the city,
which we're very grateful for. If you're watching,
they're not. But yeah. So my plan is we'll stay here as long as we can because I would say right now, living in the building we live in, it's almost like having a part-time job, right? Like there's some struggles that come with living here. Kelly, have you seen our view?
Oh, you've floated a couple times, yeah.
You want to see our view? Well, I guess it's just light.
Yeah, you can see it during the dark time, but yeah, it's a good view.
I have like a heat blanket up, blocking out the window, and then we have several layers of curtains. And you can see right here on that side that the light is burning through right here where the extra curtain is lined up.
Oh, I see. You guys are trying to keep the heat out,
The light out for right
the
now.
light out.
Yeah.
Just the light for the broadcast,
Okay.
so we don't turn into silhouettes.
Could get the blackout curtains. I got some from GF. I have them in the back when I photograph the bears. They weren't very expensive. They were like $20.
It's more complicated than that, Kelly, because there aren't curtain rods here. So I have these cables strung up like a kung fu movie to try and rig up curtains, and I had to like breach my my rent clause to do that. So it's like, yes, we could probably buy some curtains, but we just made these curtains and they're beautiful, but we also have to like be sort of like, they have to be light.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, because like some apartments, they want you to have it white on the outside, so you only see white. And then,
Yeah, well, that's part of our rules, but they don't really know what floor we're on, and they're not really that attentive. So, like, we're not allowed to hang banners or anything. And I was thinking about hanging some Isle of Roux banners for the Stampede Parade.
can you put lights on the outside of your?
Well, we can, but we're not supposed to. Like, once a year, they come into our like. Sometimes they let themselves into our apartments to check on us, and we'll get these like angry pigeon warnings. And it's funny because I took pictures of the front doors just covered, hammered with pigeon poop right now. And then any week now they're going to do a surprise inspection to see if we have pigeon poop on our balconies, and I will send them a picture of our front door outside where the planters are just hammered with pigeon poop.
Hey, you can't control where those things poop. Poop-a-doop.
Speaking of birds, in Sun Center Mall this morning, there's I don't think you'll see it. It's on my phone. I'll send you the pictures. It's there's a hawk family actually up in the light post.
Nice.
Where the mall is, and you could hear them. It was so cute.
Oh, I love hawks.
A hawk.
Yeah, I'll send
Can I
you.
tell you how much better that story is now that it's not a clock?
There's a hawk with the babies up in the. It's only like really close to the Safeway, which is kind of interesting. So I was like, oh, I can't figure out why there's wood on the ground. So I didn't look up until I came back out, and I was like, oh, there's a bird nest there. That's cool.
Yeah, we always visit the ospreys by the river on our bike trips, and same thing. They made such a nice mess around their nest of wood and fabric, and
Yeah, there was fabric up there. I don't know. There's like plastic. There's something like garbage bags hanging down. I was like, oh, they use a lot.
I have a question.
Yes.
I just lost the page that had the pen on it. Did you plan to do that later?
I thought I could just Google it. Should I Google it now?
No, I just for some reason I thought I thought you ordered it.
No, I thought you showed it to me and I could do.
Yeah. I think it was the way you said yes that I just assumed it was like
I made a mental note.
Taken care of. Yeah, you did with such confidence that I lost the page. That's not on you. That's on me. I did that. I'm just saying, like,
Pictures of.
Lily.
No, I sent them to Jess.
Okay.
You know what I am going to do is we've got pictures from a number of people lately. People just sharing their artwork with us. And so starting next week, I'm going to start little movie montages of different people's artworks. So if you want to send me a handful of photos, preferably all in the same link. So if you send me like 50 links, I got to download them all separately, but just send me some photos. And then I'll start making little movies out of the
little vignettes.
Yeah, of people's artworks, and then I don't know, maybe we'll rig up some way that people can buy, sell stuff, and make contacts.
That's an idea.
Because I have a bunch of Theos as well, and it just occurred to me this morning, like this is a wasted opportunity that I could easily share these photos. And
One of those photos that I sent you, Jess, is the cats. They were in the closet because it was noisy today.
Oh,
So they're hiding in the linen closet.
cute.
They don't like noise. They're very picky.
That's cute though.
I came upstairs. I was like, I wonder why the closet's open. Oh, they're in here now. They're hiding. And then there's video of the birds. It's the best I could. I'm standing, looking straight up into the sun, and I'm like, I'm blinded.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it in a little bit here.
Another birdie.
I got about 50 paintings.
Oh my gosh, that pigeon is so
Where
glorious.
were you all this time?
I was watching the head, and then it was like
Oh,
becoming.
and then it just popped up.
And I
Gotcha.
was like, pigeon. Did you see mine?
Wouldn't you like to try I'm trying to see if about putting paintings embedded in resin, like a platter. Just for something to do.
I think, Kelly, it's possible that I have an overall different experience with resin than you.
Not a good one or a good one?
I like that you like resin. Guess what I associate resin with?
What?
Glop.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Glue?
I spent like 5 or 6 years trying to figure out where glop came from. I thought it was from The Grinch, and I thought it was a sequel to How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and it was not at all The Grinch. Glop came from, and I could be wrong again, but I think when I finally figured it out, it was Raggedy Ann and Andy, and I actually think is Wile E. Coyote. I have to look this up because I think I'm wrong again. I think I am wrong. But there was a Christmas special where is it The Grinch or Wile E. Coyote had made this invention called glop, and it was to protect the Christmas toys so they didn't get ruined. And basically all the toys were getting put in plastic so the kids couldn't touch them. And it, actually more than anything, I think it might have been Raggedy Ann and Andy. And then I wonder if they were partnered with Warner Brothers, that there was a Wile E. Coyote. It might have been just a foxy type character. So I'm not doing a good job of telling the story, but do you remember a Christmas special where the bad guy was putting the toys in plastic cover? Are you looking it up?
Yeah.
Cartoon, Christmas
I
cartoon.
can't remember.
That there.
I'm not sure. I do kind of remember something like that, but I don't know what it was.
Do you remember a Christmas special that was a cartoon version of the Little Rascals?
No, I don't remember that.
Did you ever see George and the Star?
Nope.
How about Charlie Brown?
Oh, yeah.
How about Frosty?
Yeah.
How about Raggedy Ann and Andy?
Don't really remember them. That's probably pretty when I was really young.
I used to be like, most of my Christmas holiday spirit came from shopping, and I didn't have any money, or TV. So I really loved when whatever sitcom was on at the time became kind of a like, oh, Welcome Back Kotter Christmas special would be like the most amazing thing, or if Happy Days acknowledged Christmas, or like I said, any of the cartoon specials that would come on really meant a lot to me. The novelty of something that I wasn't expecting coming on, especially if there's supposed to be something boring on, like certain hour where there was just like one day at a time was on, and then it'd be off, and they'd have like a Christmas movie. Sometimes there'd be random ones. Like I remember one time on CBC, Rock and Rule came on, and I was like, it blew my mind. And then, actually, do you remember the TV show The Raccoons?
Yeah, I remember watching that all the time.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, well, The Raccoons had started out as just a random special, like a 2-hour film, and that blew my mind.
And there was also the Beachcombers as well.
Never seen it. Never one time. I saw like 3 minutes of the Beachcombers.
It was Canadian made, actually.
I know what it is, and I know that Bruno Martini? No, what was his name? Bruno something.
Bruno, yeah.
Bruno what?
Can't remember his last name.
Okay.
No, Bruno something.
Yeah, and I remember the guy that played Relic. They showed this clip in the advertisement. Was eating Kentucky Fried Chicken in the woods, and this kid lost his dog, and he's looking for his dog. And Relic pretended that he was eating this kid's dog. And I can't remember if maybe the kid beat Relic up, and it turned out he's just eating Kentucky Fried Chicken or what happened. But that's the 3 minutes of Beachcombers I ever saw. Relic tormenting this guy.
Oh, I know what I used to watch. The Littlest Hobo.
I saw 12 minutes of that show too.
That one was we used to watch that all the time.
That was shot on videotape, eh?
Yeah, and actually it's funny because they actually play that still in seniors' homes.
I think you could shoot a similar quality of The Littlest Hobo on your cell phone now. Like you have the technology between your cell phone and your laptop to produce a higher quality show. Maybe the writing was better, but I'm just technically speaking.
Felix's middle name is Gabriel, right?
What are you doing? Oh, don't do that. Don't. No, it's okay.
Okay. Oh, I don't know how to undo it.
Used to watch also Little House on the Prairie as well.
Yes, but I don't want to give away his secret name. How many letters can you put down? Is it 3 or is there a limit?
Christmas Story is a Jim Henson show about a tiger who wanted to be wrapped in plastic again for Christmas.
That sounds like a great one. I haven't seen that. Love the sound of that. What would be a funny word he'd want on there? Like, what's one of his code words?
I'm sorry, we don't have to do that.
Well, what would he write? Like, what is a code word that he would like? Actually, why don't you put Teru? I bet you, is there enough for that many letters? I bet you'd like Teru. Or FT would be good. Just 2 initials, or do you need 3? Do you have to pay by the letter?
I don't know. No, it's like that's the option. I don't need to be doing this right now either. I'm sorry.
Oh, want to do his name backwards?
I might not do this. I
Okay.
might do. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Jack Pike. Let's look this up. A Jim Henson film. Jack, are you sending us mail? I think I'm holding onto a painting to send you. Jim Henson, Christmas. Tiger. Tiger. I wrote Tiger. Do you know that I lost a number of friends this election for simply sometimes for not being fascist enough and sometimes for being too fascist? Isn't that funny?
So funny.
Maybe for being too moderate. But now sometimes when I say I lost friends, I was like, I can't talk to this person anymore, and I hit delete. And sometimes it was more like, people would be freaking out, and then all of a sudden I noticed we weren't friends anymore. But life is pretty short. Is it? It's 8:46. I think I have time for one more painting. How many did I do tonight? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 new paintings.
I'm surprised you don't take the paintings to school and say, "Hey kids, you can have a painting. Pick one, or
Nope.
add something to it."
Nope.
Nope.
The kids at school get my paintings all the time because I do demos. And when I do a demo, usually the kids know that if they like it and they ask for it, they can have it. So rarely would they would much rather one of the demos I do because they see it getting made than something I brought from home.
They're very lucky that way. They get to watch you make work.
Well, like you paint at school, you don't do demos?
Well, I do some, but I don't have a chance. Like you teach kids that aren't eating each other's faces.
Right.
Like
That's what I'm going to paint. A kid eating another kid's face. Are you ready?
they're old enough to not do that. I'm working on it, my dear.
What?
Working on getting to that point. I
Yeah.
think that would be really beautiful.
There were, yeah. One of the things
It's
was
not always like that.
during COVID, because we were teaching from home, and I would do demos kind of outside of teaching time, so that I would have stuff ready for class the next day. I would do video demos of the lesson,
Yeah.
right? And then what was handy, it's probably how we got through COVID, was because I'd done demos at home, my own artwork,
Mhm.
for the intention of showing the kids how to do stuff. I had a lot of paintings kind of left over that I was able to drop into the auction. And so during the auction, we would be selling stuff that I was using to
Also, I remember you would even put them up at lunchtime so people at work over COVID would be able to watch your lessons.
yeah, lunchtime lessons
Yeah, you were really,
on it.
yeah. Like
And,
you always
but
are,
then the
just,
demos that I made ended up being
Yeah.
like also like pieces that I could sell. So it was
Mhm.
like a win-win-win.
Mhm.
How's this one?
That is so good.
It's not really a kid eating another kid's face,
Mm.
but maybe like a guy eating another
Oh,
person's
look
face.
at that face.
It's actually kind of scaring me to think about putting something in his mouth, but
Yeah, it's good.
maybe I just implied
Mm-hmm.
that he's going to eat
The
it.
toe?
No, it's a finger. It's
Oh
just
my
a stumpy finger.
Oh, and plus the knuckles were coming. I was just.
That's we've talked about this movie Sin City a number of times,
Oh my gosh.
and there's no way I could ever watch that film again because hands are really precious to me.
Mhm.
I don't know if there's anybody in my life that would remember when I kind of lost my mind during that Coney 2012 thing. But that was actually one of the things that also kind of led me to want to open the Gorilla House. Was I got really kind of wrapped up in the idea that I was teaching years ago. I taught a kid from the Congo who had been abducted by the LRA or an LRA like group. And at the same time, we were taking care, you send like money to support a child from World Vision, and they'll send you letters and they become part of your life to the extent that you get like a couple letters over the years. And we got more letters from the World Vision saying this little guy, Rabbi, was in an area that was a high risk, and World Vision wanted to know that if Rabbi was like murdered, would be interested in taking on a second. I might be exaggerating this a bit, but that was kind of the crutch of it, is like a more carefully worded, what are your plans if the kid you're supporting isn't available? in the future. And so I got really worked up about the idea of soldiers taking children, and sometimes what they would do is chop their hands off so that they didn't join the gang. They didn't want them to be able to fight back when they were older, and they would remove one of the kids' hands so that they could still work as slaves, but not as potentially grow up and become part of a resistance. And I think I kind of lost my mind for a little while over like these gangs in other countries where they're abducting children. I remember I'd come up with this plan, kind of a working plan, that when we go to the one of these places and sort of make ourselves available as teachers to try and help teach some of these kids that have been abducted to read, and sort of partner up with the war chiefs. And then my plan was to like sneak into somebody's tent and chop somebody's arm off and keep it in a box. Like, so obviously this is part of a if there's a warlord cutting little boy's hands off, the idea that I'm going to go there and sneak into his tent and amputate his arm, probably stuff I shouldn't say on live feed. But I wrote up a whole plan for it. And then I also was trying to talk some of the teachers I worked with to come with me. Obviously it's like fiction, but this one guy
Come with me.
Well, so remember Glenn Anderson?
Yeah.
So like I presented this plan to Galen. Galen's down for anything. And I presented to Glenn Anderson, and we'd be in staff meetings and I'd be working on the plan, and Glenn would like tap me like, hey, pay attention. I'd be like this. I'd be like, he actually got kind of scared that he thought I was taking it so seriously. I was really just like, I mean, around that time I was also working out intricate survival plans for the zombie apocalypse, where Robin had a modifying modular plan that if we're separated, this is how we'd find each other in the zombie apocalypse. So no, I wasn't seriously gonna, but that was my plan. And then the actual dream was, if this kind of band of kooks went out to battle this war, if we made it out alive, came back with like, this like
Hand in a box.
arm in a box, that the last one standing would publish a book about it and tell the story about
And have the
teachers that went to go and avenge these little boys. Which is, I mean, I know it's so messed up, and for sure, hopefully if you work for the school board, you're not watching this, but I went through a phase where that was like on my mind all the time. And it comes down to, I kind of like looking back, like, why did I go so crazy over this? I can watch a movie where somebody dies, or a whole army full of people are dying. I think we saw like, if you watch those Avenger movies, half the universe dies.
Right.
And it doesn't phase you the way if a dog dies, or if somebody, sometimes even just amputation in a movie can be more jarring than somebody, because it's fiction, but the idea of that loss, and especially hands, right? Because hands mean so much to me as an artist. That and that's what happened to my diamond. I owned a diamond. My mother's diamonds were stolen, and she decided to give my sister and I whatever inheritance we would get, and I had like a portion of the stolen whatever, and I needed to get it. It had to be a diamond. I couldn't buy groceries. I had to buy a diamond. So there I was, living by myself with no hope for love, and I decided to get a diamond for Robin. I got a necklace and a bracelet, kind of like over there, with the majority of my insurance inheritance going towards this one diamond. And I remember my mom kind of explaining to me that I was getting a diamond that was worth twice as much because it came from South Africa and people didn't really want these diamonds. And then I saw the movie Blood Diamond. I'm like, this is my diamond. And I ended up selling it for $175 just to get it out of my house. And I offered, like, I was sitting in the staff room one day. I was like, you guys, I got this diamond. I think it was worth like $5,000. Does anybody want to buy it? And they were like so offended. And then like 6 months later, they're like, whatever happened to your diamond? I'm like, oh, I sold it. And they're like, how much did you get? I'm like, $175. And they flipped out that I sold the diamond for $175. They're like, I can't believe you didn't send it to us. And I was like, I did offer it to you, and you all got mad. And like, I don't care. I just wanted to get rid of it. But it was because it was a blood diamond, and that really bothered me.
I was going to say, I think when you say like you got really upset about that and got really obsessed, it's like in your own way, you're trying to deal with these atrocities in this world. And like that was your way to
Well, or like people would say things like, "What do you think you'd do if you'd been around during Hitler's atrocities?" And I'm like, I'd like to think I'd be sitting there working out a plan. Like I'd like to think I'd be the guy. No, that's actually really funny, right? Because just this minute, I'm admitting that I wrote out a plan to chop off some warlord's arm, and was kind of trying to encourage some teachers to come along with my plan. And I think for a little while, I honestly thought it'd be like I wasn't really doing anything with my life, and I thought maybe this would be worth dying for. And so I might not have been in my right mind. The other hand, though, is all through my childhood, they would present this idea of the Nazi Germany, and they'd say, "You can't imagine what it would be like to be in that situation." They would say to us as students, "You'd probably go through this too." And there I was, like 15 years later, plotting out, this arm amputation. And up until this minute, I felt kind of ashamed of that. Like, obviously, I went crazy, and maybe I'm not fit to be living in public. But that's actually that was my solution at the time. We start working out this plan for avenging those kids. And then eventually I sort of realized that it was crazy, and I stopped planning it. But then that summer I opened Gorilla House, right?
You said something really important, is like in that time you didn't have something that you're pushing for, and that was something really like an atrocity
that would have been worth giving my life to.
Yeah, that would be worth giving your life to. And then so then you're like, okay, well, if I can't do that, then what can I do? What can I give my life to? And it's like, and there's atrocities happening in different ways all the time. The idea of people like getting hands chopped off, but then there's the idea of people getting their spirits chopped out.
And where I was at, I remember looking into if there was a way to list in an army and go fight the LRA.
Yeah.
I was like, I felt compelled to go do that.
Like that's why we were friends. We were friends with Paul Hughes, and he did that too. Like the idea of that war started, and he was like same thing.
And I think to some level, I kind of felt ashamed of the fact that he did go out to fight a war that way. Like there was a war, and the next thing he knew, he was on a train and a bus and a plane. And he's just like, I'm not having it. And then we didn't really have a way to join him in this war, but we did send him. I think we raised $2,000 for him, didn't we?
Yeah, we had a rumble for him. Yeah.
All right. Well, this is a painting you don't want to hang over your bed because it's got some, at the very least, some bad luck attached to it. But it could be just somebody throwing some popcorn in his mouth,
right?
Or it could be a guy.
It could be his own hand, but it could also be.
So I will make a gift to anybody that wants it, and you can do with it whatever you need to. If this ends up being a painting you gave to your ex-boyfriend or something, like, oh, it's really funny. I think it's a guy eating popcorn. It's not a guy eating popcorn.
It's not.
I like freed myself of having to have a purpose for these things. But right now, we just have this drawer where I'm pinning them down by. We've been going till 9:30.
Yeah, it's really nice.
There are 7 people still with us. Let's go till 9:30.
Look, I'll show what I worked on. I worked on this piece.
It would help our egos and our sanity if you are there. If you could send us a little comment in the comments, because the biggest difference between what we do now and what we did before is it's very slow feedback. We get at the end of the week, we get an indication that 13,000 people saw that this was happening. And then we get another sense of feedback that around 6,000 people watched it. And we don't know how long they watched it for, but it counts as a watch. If you watch 3 minutes and then when it turns out we're doing a 2.5 hour broadcast, that could mean anything.
Small, you like it.
But if you send us a letter to, where's my hand? Okay, how do I do this? There's my pen. And I point the pen to, you can text us at 403-629-7424, or you can send a letter to our post box, P.O. Box 130. I can't do this one fast yet. 13035. Is that right? 13035. Beltline RPO, Calgary, Alberta, T2R1C6. One more time. That's P.O. Box Box 13035, Beltline, RPO, Calgary, Alberta, T2R 1C6. And Jesse will type that into the comments, and you can copy and paste it. And if you mail us a letter, we will send you a painting. Kind of the opposite of being a business. We're an unbusiness. I need some more ideas. Chucky. I have never painted Chucky.
There's a boy in my class
That paints Chucky?
painting Chucky.
Like right now?
Yeah,
Is that true?
it is true.
Did I see it? Is that why I thought of it?
Nope. You
I
guys-
think I'm looking at
he's-
this.
he's definitely one that's on the wavelength, though.
Right. Ooh, I love that phrase. The wavelength
Mm-hmm.
on the spectrum.
That's what it is.
I've never heard anybody say on the wavelength before.
Oh.
I can't paint Bob Dylan again. I just can't. I did the Little Prince. Did you know that was the Little Prince?
I did.
I did some Sesame Street. I did
Hi,
Moby
Simone. It's nice to see you.
Miss Nina Simone. Simone, where are you? Where did you see that?
Simone said, I haven't been able to tune in for a while, but I'm watching now. That is
Simone,
so nice, Simone.
Did you see which would you rather see, Jessica's Floating Head or a repeat of the Lost Hero X? Actually, I'm going to say this. You can see the entire series of Lost Hero X
Because
on YouTube.
there's a really nice story arc for me.
Yeah, we're hitting the 20th episode of Lost Hero X, and we're about to turn the ship around. So that's Felix has just been
That's
pestering
kinda
us to say, why are you dragging me into space, parents? It's time to go home. I hope it's just as easy as turning around and go back. It would suck if the wormholes were clogged up and we couldn't find our way home.
Yeah.
That would all end up on me because it's all. Oh, can I have this?
Of course you can.
Look what I'm gonna do.
That is so nice.
Isn't it? That.
Lost your sound.
Is it back on now?
Yep.
It could have got heated up. I wish you'd just listen. Yeah, it probably just got heated up. Sometimes the ports get overwhelmed and they block you out.
Aw. Thanks, Jack. Simone says my mom was in hiding during World War II, and she knows. Thank you, Simone, for what you need to do to survive. Yeah.
Jesse's family used to take their jewelry and pack it in
Fat.
So when the Germans came, they would either not find their jewelry or blow it up, and it would go to smithereens.
Pearls wrapped in fat. I wouldn't. Yeah, you wonder what's like locked in the earth after all of those things.
I didn't used to like the Tragically Hip for a long time.
Mhm.
They kind of struck me as one of those college bands, you know. I guess were they a college band? Like kind of like edgy pop music that was like almost like anthem music for people in geology or something. Not to pick on people from geology, but there's just something about no, I love geology. But there was like this weird kind of tendency. I kind of split my world in half, and I went to art school. My friends went to U of C, and like they really lived one of those like, you know, movies about university time. And maybe once or twice a year I would go to the trouble of like meeting up with them and you know, go do university things. And I was, to be honest, pretty mortified as to what was like normal behavior for those guys. And I just, wow, why am I saying this? It just sounds so negative. But my point was, they all really loved the Tragically Hip, like too much. And I kind of felt like I couldn't connect with the Tragically Hip. And I also sort of found like Gord Downey's music a little shrill. Like sometimes I couldn't tell the difference between Gord Downey and Tracy Chapman. And I really loved Tracy Chapman, but I did not love Gord Downey. And then I graduated and I got a job at the Sign Group. And my boss, you will not believe this guy's name. Guess what his name was? James Deans, like plural.
No.
Yeah, that was his name. And I asked him one time, like, how did your parents possibly screw that up? And he's like, well, they were farmers and they'd never heard of James Dean. And so his last name was Deans, Deans, and his first name was James. And he was a huge fan of the Tragically Hip. And around that time, the song Scared came out. And when I heard Scared for the first time, that line, well,
the Nazis find the whole place dark.
Yeah.
Like move everything. Yeah, you have to move everything out before the bad guys.
Yeah. That line from that song hit me so hard. I retroactively started to love all of Tragically Hip and went and bought, like, I mean, because like I was living off of like very, very little money back then, but I was able to get like a bunch of Tragically Hip CDs at that point because like places like Tramps that sold used CDs, everybody had gotten sick. Yeah, but everybody, but there's whole like CD stores where they had like $4 discs. This is kind of probably before even MP3s. I was able to get my hands on a ton of Tragically Hip CDs at a pretty decent cost because most of the world had already kind of moved on and they liked the Tragically Hip, but they just sort of sold off their tapes.
Yeah, already had them or had.
Yeah. And I got all the Tragically Hip retroactively, like, but that song really hit me hard. And then everything I heard after that sounded so great. Like, I guess to some extent with jazz, that's happened to us a little bit. Like there's certain jazz musicians I didn't really get at first. And then as I learned more about jazz, I realized I wasn't listening to the right things. Or Kurosawa films are like that, where it's like, I really wanted to like Kurosawa films, but I didn't realize that I was watching them wrong. And so it'd be like, well, I was, waiting for something to happen and nothing happened, but it happened in the background. And so I actually had to learn how to watch a Kurosawa film because sometimes the drama would happen in the weather instead of in the characters' actions. And yeah, I really love Tragically Hip for that. And it was really interesting. The only thing, I keep wondering if at some point in my life I'll become musically sophisticated enough to like Pat Metheny. Because I remember at that same time I worked at this one shop and this one guy I worked with would just play Pat Metheny nonstop. And that was also part of the reason why I discovered the CBC. Was I was like, if I have to listen to Pat Metheny one more time, I'm going to lose my mind. Time is 9:10. There's a point where I really start to draw some bogus paintings. Like, I'm going to tell you, my last painting was a painting. This is a bogus painting. I don't know what I'm doing. It makes no sense. And I plan to throw this out very soon. Yeah, maybe even right now. Bogus painting. I would like to get rid of this bogus painting. And then what I'd like to do is a good painting. One last something I can be proud of. And maybe this.
I still don't get the hip, so thanks for that. I am weirdly fascinated by the conclave right now. Any change in world order has me hoping. Aww.
You know, it's funny because I was talking to some kids at my school about that, and I hope it came out respectful, but I teach this class, and my class is a learning strategies class. And in my learning strategies class, I was talking about things you can know and things you can't know. When you're arguing with somebody and they tell you what you're thinking, they're treading on the lines of things they can't know. They can say, this is how I feel. This is how your action make me feel. But when they're telling what's going on inside your head, that's something you're expert on, and they really are just guessing at. So when somebody goes, you think this, you're like, wait a minute, like,
I'm in my head.
yeah, who gave you permission to speak for what I think?
Yeah.
And one of the things I talked about with that, I don't know how that happened, but we should get that over there. Can I implore you to did that just splash there now? Okay, that's all good. Oh, I bet you when I pulled that string, paint splash, it could be anywhere. It would often happen that the Pope would say something, and then one group of my friends would be like so thrilled that the Pope had backed up their idea, and then a completely different group of friends would be thrilled to find out the Pope backed up another idea, and they would show the same clip to indicate that the Pope had said two different things. And I don't speak Italian or, you know, whichever language the Pope was speaking in. So I was counting on the interpreter to give me the truth. But, you know, there's often times where you'd get such different explanations of what was just announced that I don't know.
I think I always tell you this when you talk about this. I always say the same exact story back.
What is it?
In this book by Tom Robbins, he was talking about operas and how they would always have the printout to go along with it. Sometimes when you would go to an opera,
Yeah,
and then you would have kind of the story to follow along with, but sometimes they would give out the wrong photocopies of the wrong story.
right.
And so you'd be watching this opera and you'd be getting the subtitles, quote unquote, you know what I mean? Like the story to a different story.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I imagine sometimes is that we're getting
Yeah.
the wrong.
I'm 100% sure you've never said that to me before.
Really? Maybe I'm getting better at expressing my feelings.
Maybe you think
thoughts,
it, and then you wonder why I don't know that you haven't said it because you just thought it. But that's a very interesting thought, and I'm positive I would have remembered you saying that.
It's totally possible. I think things and I don't say them out loud. It is totally possible.
But you also start things, and then maybe I cut you off, and you feel like you remember that was like a conversation we had, and I just wasn't paying attention the way I should have been.
Oh no, it's like sometimes I get derailed too. Like I derail myself as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like very complex all the time, conversations. Because I guess that could be for anything. You think you're listening to the story you think you're listening to from someone you think you understand, and then you could be hearing something else too. So like that really does make sense.
Or I made a comment in support of something that one of my social media friends was saying, and it seemed like they thought I was saying the opposite of what I'd meant to say. And I thought to myself, oh, if I try and explain myself, it's just going to get convoluted. So I kind of let it slide. But then as I started getting like pummeled by other people that I think misinterpreted what I was trying to say, I started getting frustrated, and I wasn't mad in any way. I was just like, at some point I'm going to have to like admit that that's not what I meant to say. So a few times I kind of responded and tried to clarify. I agree with you. Like, we don't have to fight because I'm on your side. I'm like, you're preaching to the
Choir.
You're preaching to the choir, and I initially commented wanting to empathize, like it sucks when that happens, and somehow what I said had been taken. Now, here's one of the things: I completely overestimated that this person would know more about me. Like I kind of assumed that they knew that if I did Rumble House for 12 years, that I'm probably kind of pro art. And what ended up happening on this feed was a lot of people kept texting me and telling me how important art is. And I'm like, who do they think I am? They must have thought I was some weird business guy that was like poo-pooing their dreams. I'm like, I think I've put so much of my life into making art available to people. It was kind of shocking to me that people are like, somebody said to me, art's like important. And I was like,
everyone has a right to make art. You're like, no, I made
that's what I said.
A
No,
TED talk.
Nobody had said everybody has a right to make art, because I think like the gist of what was being said was art's essential. And several people told me that art's essential, and I'm like, is that not part of like
who I am?
The assumption that like I thought we were all
that was
artists.
The basis, and then we were.
Yeah, and I was extrapolating on the fact that once you accept that art is life or death and essential, then here's some other factors to consider. And I was really shocked at like how negative it got, and especially like in some cases people that I kind of thought knew me better than that. But that's also how I ran into trouble with that fella at the
you never can tell.
At the book bindery that likes to rant about me sometimes, because it was like basically I was saying something kind of flippant, but I often see more than two sides to a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's a perfect example. I ran an art gallery where everybody was welcome, right? And the two conflicting situations were the trained artists were very offended when the non-trained artists came in. And so I had to like balance that, right? Like the very first week of Gorilla House, the people that were helping me run the place were like, well, what are the standards? You at least have to go to ACAD or something like that. I'm like, those aren't our standards. We're not basing it on whether you attended art school or not. And then from there, it was also like, I also believe there's such a thing as good art and bad art. So like, it's difficult when you're trying to like to defend art for everybody, and then you're also trying to say like, you can't just like start throwing crap on the people.
I was gonna say, you can't poop on the canvas.
And people did. People would sometimes pull canvas out of the dumpsters and kind of like flail on it, and then they'd want me to sell it for in the thousands. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to do that to my art buyers, because I also have torn between the obligation for the art sellers and the art buyers. I had two masters at that space. And I think what I kind of understand is the disagreement that ensued this week. I think it kind of came from the people that were more on one side of the art selling. And I do think sometimes people that sell art sometimes see the art buyers as their enemy, and I saw the art buyers as the lifeline to what kept Gorilla House and Rumble House in a situation to help people.
Yeah.
And then
it's the other half of the conversation.
Yeah. So there's complexities there where many times some of the artists I partnered with would be upset that I was, open to or taking sides with the art buyers, because it seemed like they often saw the art buyers as villains somehow,
Enemy.
And there were times when you'd like hear an artist sort of boasting about taking advantage of an art buyer, and that really bothered me. So the gist of what I said is that art can be a privilege. By that I meant a lot of things, and that was actually why I didn't get into defending it, because some people have the privilege of making art and not having to prove anything. That might be like a Picasso who is independently wealthy. And then there's people like Van Gogh who would have felt very, very privileged anytime he got his hands on some paint. There were days when I bought paint instead of food and went without food.
Right.
So I'm quite aware of how art making might sit in the realm of addiction for me at some points.
Mm.
And then again, anytime I'm painting, I'm just privileged to have hands. I'm privileged to have a mind. I feel privileged to be alive. I feel gratitude and privilege all the time.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not, out working a third job, and so I think it starts with expectations, right? Because I think sometimes when you're an artist, you want people to appreciate the work you've done. And then sometimes when you're a supporter of people that are struggling, you're like, here's a guy over here dumpster diving, and you're upset that I'm dead in my artwork, where's my money? So when I get caught in those middle of those arguments, I'm of both beliefs that artists should be cherished, but also that sometimes we as artists try and take advantage, right?
Like you said, you want to be cherished, but everyone wants to be cherished. So you have to think about
it goes
everybody.
back to the politics where sometimes I was, too moderate for both sides.
But isn't that the way if you're with lots of people?
It's not usually my problem,
No, right, but
cracking.
Beelzebub.
That's a good idea for a painting.
Good old
Beelzebub painting.
Beasley. Good old Mr.
Uncle
Beasley.
Beasley. Did you have a grade 8 English short story? Thus spoke Mr. Beasley or something? Thus spoke Uncle Beasley?
It's making me think of something. As soon as you said that, I was...
Let's look it up. Oh, you beat me to it. 9:23. We usually shut down at 9:36. That's a weird number. Do I got time for one more drawing?
I did buy, there's a book that I've been reading, is the Screw Tape Letters.
Yeah.
And it's the devil writing to... So it's like Lewis Carroll wrote this book, and it's like the devil
Check and see if there's a short story called Thus Spoke Mr. Beasley or something.
Zarathustra?
No, that's different. That's something Uncle Beasley on the grade 8 reading list. Short story.
Oh.
What?
The Enormous Egg Summary Study Guide. Zemer and Nate guide him to Uncle Beasley's pen, where they shocked to realize that Uncle Beasley is missing. Whole family self. Okay,
Mr. Beasley is in the Diary of the Wimpy Kid, and I'm gonna say that the author of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid probably took the same Canadian Lit class in grade 8 that we took, or that I took. But it's remarkable to me because I always struggled in school because I didn't read, but I actually remembered reading The Secret Life of Walter Mitty and this Uncle Beasley story. I think maybe when I did read it, it really stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Isaac
Asimov?
What's the story called?
Flies.
What?
Popular short story featuring Beelzebub is called Flies by Isaac Asimov.
What's the opening line? Isaac Asimov really would sound like. What's the opening line?
Thus I Refute Beasley by John Collier.
Look that up. Jack Pike, I think you're correct.
Whoa.
What?
Vincent Price says it.
Yeah? Yeah, that was one of my reading assignments in junior high. Okay, now when I say reading assignments, it was probably like to pass grade 8. I had to write an exam.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna play this after.
Well,
Thus I refute these.
that was the same exam as
He said he thinks he read
in
it.
school. Yeah, so sounds like they probably should have updated your textbooks. It is 9:26. We got 10 minutes.
Vincent Price reading it. Oh my gosh, I'm excited.
What can you get a synopsis? I kind of think it was. Here's what I remember. I kind of remember the image of like an old study, like somebody's, like your uncle's house with a staircase, and there's a movie. Mr. Frost is Mr. Frost related to Mr. Beasley? Kind of like and I see it in black and white with red leather, which defies the fact that I just said black and white. But kind of like a study in a den and maybe a smoking jacket. And then maybe Mr. Beasley was his uncle. Uncle. And are you looking for like a Coles notes on it? It's a short story, so maybe they don't even make Coles.
Yeah.
Can you try synopsis for? Give me the lowdown.
Father Big Simon, who tries to convince his son Small Simon that the imaginary creature Mr. Beasley he plays with in the garden is not real.
Oh, that's why it stuck with me.
Conflict between their beliefs.
That, you know what? That storyline is one of the main storylines that lives in my head.
That you talk about
all
like
the time.
Kids talking about them.
Dad says it's just an imaginary monster, and the kid knows it's real.
Yeah. It's same variation.
I hate that story. Yeah. And every time I'm walking down the street and there's some toothless guy screaming that, he's coming with the sword or whatever, the dragons are there, I always duck because I'm like, I don't care what people think. That guy might be the only one that sees through the veil, So if you have kids and they tell you there's monsters under the bed, just have your kids sleep somewhere else. Let's have a camp out in the living room.
Remember the time when I turned into a squirrel?
What?
Look at this one still from that conversation.
You turned into? Oh yeah.
How his eye flipped back.
Yeah.
It's like in response to that comment.
Yeah.
I love that.
I'm really digging Mark Carney's sense of humor.
Yeah.
He's funny.
Super funny.
If you don't like him, that's your business. But I think he's funny. And also, I have not deleted any of my friends for voting conservative. But if you start talking to me about separating, that one's a deal breaker. What's a BIM?
BEM?
I remember a girl I dated in high school was laughing about her dad having a BCM. And I was like, what's a BCM? And what was funny was, she was actually a pretty funny kid. She and her best friend had been joking about their dads having a ball crushing machine. And so BCM was ball crushing machine. And
Bug-eyed monster.
Oh, this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep talking, sorry.
No, that's just like, I've probably seen about 12 license plates in my lifetime that said BCM. And I always think to myself, oh, that guy's got a ball crushing machine. Yeah. I guess I love people that don't always let you in on the private joke, which is who I married, right? You often will laugh at something and then not bother to tell me why it's funny. But I think the gag was she'd mentioned a BCM a few times without telling me that her dad had a ball crushing machine.
Those are some good feet.
What time is it?
9:30.
Oh, 9:30. We got 6 minutes. We just have enough time for you to sing to us. What could you possibly sing, considering we just started making a movie about a floating head on the radio?
Well, I was telling you I was listening to this one singer sing this one song on repeat, like she was doing a cover of this song, and I thought that was stuck in my head.
Are you going to sing that for me?
Yeah, and maybe not the whole thing, but
I think you should. There's about 6 minutes left, 5 minutes left. So listen, if you want any of these paintings, I'm keeping a drawer full of them. Oh yeah. Well, maybe when I get your letter with your address, I will mail you the what do we call this? The BEM.
Mm-hmm.
This is your BEM, but you got to mail me a letter. That's the price. It's the price for this painting.
You were here before. Couldn't look you in the eye. You're just like an angel. Your skin makes me cry. You float like a feather in a beautiful world. I wish I was special. You're so very special. I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. What the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here. I don't care if it hurts. I want to have control. I want a perfect body. I want a perfect soul. I want you to notice when I'm not around. You're so very special. I wish I was special. Oh, I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. What the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here. She's running out the door. I'm losing the track of the
You're
ever
wonderful.
makes you happy.
Is this Radiohead?
Yeah.
That's crazy. You know why?
Why?
Because I thought this was Radiohead, but I actually have two memories of Radiohead in my head. Because there's this, and then there's all the rest of Radiohead. Somehow I kind of separated this into like pop Radiohead versus like deep Radiohead.
Also because this, the idea of being on like we're talking about Marvel and stuff. Whoa, sorry, Jack. We're all freaks. Save Wednesdays for the weirdos.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah. Have a good night, Jack.
So, would you agree that I'm a little bit psychic?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I was just kind of like needed a break from my class, and I wondered just my class is kind of, you can see the other class down the hall, and I wandered into the other room where I had like the kids from 2 semesters ago, and they were done their work, so they're just sitting and playing board games, and the board game they were playing was you put a card on your head and then ask questions, kind of like
like in Inglourious Basterds.
Yeah, only like I go, let me try. So they pulled out a card.
Oh no.
And I was like, is it an animal? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, is it an animal from a zoo? And they're like, it could be. I'm like, is it a rhinoceros? They're like, you cheated. I'm like, okay. So then I did another one, and I'm like, does it move? They're like, yeah. I'm like, is there rubber? They're like, there is some rubber. I'm like, is it a bicycle? They're like, you're cheating. How are you cheating? And they were like, so. And it's funny because I actually wanted them to stop trying to sneak around behind me. So I told them, and this is kind of true, that in most classrooms, I always try and figure out like where I can see the reflections. So like if you're in my classroom, I'm using my glasses, I'm using the walls, I'm using all the stuff to see what's going on behind me. And they remembered that. But I did like, because they'd been playing this game for like 45 minutes and they'd only got like 2 right. My theory is I guess them, because I'm also thinking about what the illustrators, the guy that made the game.
Right.
I'm like, a bicycle and a rhino. Like, what are things that artists know how to draw when they're given free reign to draw random stuff?
Right.
Jack, this is your BEM. I'm going to sign it. I don't sign them all, but I'm signing this one. Teru. So just send me a letter, and it's yours. And I think we're holding on to something else for you as well. Yeah. I spelled my name wrong because I'm tired. 25.
He does have a letter. He said, my letter that I repeatedly think about when I'm anywhere but the office or home.
You have a letter, but it's coming towards us? That's amazing. That'll make it all the better when it gets here.
Yeah, we got it. All right. I mean, we have the samurai. Don't worry. Thank you so much, everyone, for...
Oh, you scored on the samurai.
For listening and joining and taking part.
Good night. We love you. Thanks for putting up with us.
Bye.
Thanks,
I
Kelly, for
really like
us.
this. And you know what? I started just doing some random crap in the background, and I don't know what it means, but I love it.
I love it, too.
I like it.
I
like it a lot.
Simone.
I love it.
Thank you, Simone. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Jack.